I want to show you something. So let's take a ride and we'll talk along the way. What I want to show you is an important part of our presbytery that may not show up on your radar screen very often. It's a region that faces unique challenges. You see, presently, there are 8 churches in Sullivan County. Not one of them has a pastor. Some haven't had one for years, and the chances of attracting a pastor to this remote and rural area for a part-time call are slim to none, unless churches work together. So in 2023, 2 years ago, 7 churches met to creatively seek ways to call a full-time pastor. It later became known as the Sullivan County Project, which is a pilot project and a collaborative effort of the Hudson River Presbytery and the churches of Sullivan County. Let's get some context. Here's a map of the Hudson River Presbytery, and you can see everything on the right is where most of the churches are. But Sullivan County is way over on the left, right here. When you see a whole cluster of churches that are all struggling, there must be some common set of factors that make it challenging and impact their success or lack of success. And Sullivan County is different than any other county in our presbytery, but it's different in a way that is valuable to our mission as a presbytery, and we are in danger of losing it. They are rural churches and rural points of influence and care that we should care about. It's an area that represents 10% of our presbytery, and they're struggling to find pastors, and frankly, the prospects don't look good. Let's talk about obstacles and frustrations. One is pulpit supply. The list is very limited, and few preachers want to travel all the way to Sullivan County on a Sunday morning. And when they do, the churches have to pay for the mileage, which makes it expensive. Second frustration is that the candidate pool in our denomination is declining. So the number of people who are available is limited. And you can imagine that geographically these churches feel removed from our presbytery. Mary, she's a member of the Jeffersonville Presbyterian Church, and her church is a good example of how these churches are vital to their communities. Jeffersonville serves their community through their food pantry and their thrift store. Food pantry clients can also use the thrift store for free clothes, but all the proceeds from the thrift store go back to the community to pay for school supplies, winter clothes, firewood, and heating bills. Their church is a true community center of this small town. So the churches shared their hopes and fears and decided that the best way to attract a stable, long-term pastor was to join together to support one full-time installed pastor that would minister to all 6 churches, covering 1,000 square miles. But how do you do that? The pastor shows up in person at 2 churches. Here's a sample schedule. The remaining churches receive a recording of that week's sermon. The service is led by the congregation and the sermon is played on a TV screen, and it allows the pastor to share a common message to all the churches. Secondly, you organize your week so that all the churches receive administration, teaching, and pastoral care while looking forward to ways of building up these churches for community outreach. Here is a sample schedule of the week in the life of a Sullivan County pastor. In order to call a full-time pastor, the churches requested financial help from the Presbytery. And in January, the Presbytery Council voted to approve partnering with the Sullivan County churches and to financially share 50% of the cost of a full-time pastor. And part of the beauty of this shared pastor arrangement is that the Board of Pensions will kick in a $10,000 grant every year for at least the next 3 years. What are we hoping will happen? Well, number one, we'll have 6 churches in our presbytery who will be supported by pastoral services and leadership. And 2, it'll encourage these churches who have for years been led by lay leaders who are frankly burned out. It will then release the members of those congregations to do more community outreach. It will promote congregational and presbytery unity as the two partner together. And finally, the hope is that we will provide a model for rural and shared pastorates that can be shared with other parts of our presbytery and even our denomination. So that's the Sullivan County Project. And our thanks goes out to our presbytery for its support of innovative and creative solutions and for valuing the vital ministry of our rural congregations in Sullivan County and the role they play in sharing God's love.